All right, let's dive in. Today, we are going on a mission to crack the code on one of the most beautiful and, let's be honest, sometimes one of the most frustrating languages out there, French. You've probably had this exact thought, right? You look at a French word, you see the letters, you recognize every single one of them, but then you hear a native speaker say it, and it sounds like it's from another planet. What is going on there? Well, this one little word shows you the whole problem. In English, SAL is just sail. Easy. But in French, you add one tiny accent mark, and SALE becomes salé. Suddenly, that last letter is wide awake. And that, right there, is why our familiar alphabet is actually a trap.
So our first step in cracking this code is realizing that even though the letters look identical, they are playing a completely different game. Now, you could go and memorize the whole French alphabet song, A, B, C, but honestly, that's not the real secret here.
Forget the alphabet song. We're going straight for the secret rulebook. We're going to focus on just a handful of really high-impact rules that give you the biggest bang for your buck. Think of it like the 80-20 of French pronunciation. This is the 20% of the rules that will fix 80% of your mistakes. This is what unlocks everything.
And the very first set of rules we have to master is for the vowel code. I'm telling you, if you get this part right, you are more than halfway there. Vowels are the absolute heart of the French sound, and they're usually where things go a little sideways for English speakers. Okay, we're starting with the final boss of French vowels, the French OO. I know, it has this reputation for being totally impossible, but I promise you, it's not really a sound you have to learn, it's more of a physical shape that your mouth just hasn't made before. Let's break it down. So try this with me right now, wherever you are. First, just say a really long, high-pitched E. Okay? Feel where your tongue is? It's high up and it's forward in your mouth. Now, freeze it. Don't let that tongue move an inch. The only thing you're going to do is round your lips really tight like you're about to whistle. The sound that comes out is OO. Listen, E, OO. That's it. That's the sound.
Next up, the famous nasal vowels. Now, don't let the name intimidate you. The idea is actually pretty simple. It just means the sound vibrates a little bit in your nose. The number one mistake everyone makes is trying to actually pronounce the N or the M. Don't do it. Just think of them as silent letters that totally change the vowel that comes before them.
There are really just three main ones you got to know. First, when you see N or N, it makes a deep ah sound, like in the word grand. Hear that? No hard N sound. Next, all gives you an O sound, like in the word bon. And again, no N. And finally, in or an gives you a higher, brighter nasal sound, like in the word vin. My tongue never touches the roof of my mouth on any of them.
All right, let's talk about the French R. The absolute first thing you need to know is do not roll your tongue like you would in Spanish. It is not rrr. The French R is born way in the back of your throat. It's less of a roll and way more of a light gargle. It's a little vibration right at the top of your throat.
The perfect example is the city itself. An English speaker might say Paris, with that R happening at the front of the mouth. But the French sound comes from the back, Paris. Hear that little bit of friction? Paris. That's the sound you're going for. Okay, so we've covered the sounds that are different, but the other half of this code, and this is just as important, is learning about all the letters that are completely silent. Let's start with an easy one, a total freebie. The letter H in French is basically just for decoration. It's always, always silent. So when you see a word like hôtel, your brain screams hotel. But you just have to pretend that H is totally invisible. It's simply hôtel.
Now, this next rule, this one is a true game changer. As a general rule of thumb, you do not pronounce the very last consonant of a French word. So T-R-O-P isn't trope, it's just trope. That P completely vanishes. Now, of course, there are exceptions, but luckily there's this fantastic little trick. Just remember the word careful. The consonants C, R, F, and L are usually the ones you do pronounce at the end of a word.
And our last silent letter rule for today is for the letter E. If you see a plain old E without any accent on it at the end of a word, it's pretty much always silent. It's there on the page, but you don't hear it.
All right, it's time to put our new code-breaking skills to the test. This is where it all comes together. Let's look at a few common words and see how the rules we just learned make them suddenly click into place.
Let's start with maybe the most famous French word of all, bonjour. Okay, let's break it down. B-O-N, well, that gives us that nasal on sound, right? Bon. Then we have J-O-U-R. It's got our guttural R at the end. Now, is that R silent?
No way, because R is one of our careful letters, so we have to say it. You put it all together, bonjour. See? It's just a couple of rules stacked on top of each other.
How about the number 8? H-U-I-T. First rule, that H at the start is silent, ignore it. What about the end? The final letter is T. Is T in our magic word careful? Nope, so it's silent too. And just like that, a 4-letter word becomes one simple sound, wheat. All the clues were right there.
And for our last example, let's bring it all together with M-U-S-I-Q-U. We start with that tricky oo sound we practiced at the very beginning, moo. Then we have seek. And what was our rule for that final E with no accent? It's silent. So the whole word is simply musique. You just totally decoded it. And that's really the heart of the code. We just went over 5 super powerful patterns: that French U sound, the nasal vowels, the guttural R, and the rules for silent consonants and silent E's. This isn't about memorizing a dictionary full of exceptions. It's about knowing these key patterns that will just instantly improve how you speak, and more importantly, how you hear French.
So I'll leave you with this question. The next time you're listening to a French song or watching a French movie, you won't just be hearing a beautiful but confusing wave of sound. You've got the code now. You can start to hear the patterns. You can hear the silent letters that aren't there. You can hear the nasal vowels. The language is no longer alien. It's a puzzle that you now have the keys to solve.